Hey everyone. Hey Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me again today for this call. I'm super excited. For those of you who may or may not remember, we had Andrea on our Deck Creators podcast a couple months ago, I think, and we've known each other for a pretty long time. I think it's probably close to 15 years now. It's crazy.
I know.
Um, yeah, we met in Hawaii when we were studying with Doreen and learning everything about angel therapy, and we've been in touch ever since. And so we've both been on this journey of creating some really magical decks. This is the first one that Andrea created several years ago, the Seeds of
Mhm.
Magic Tarot, and I backed her Kickstarter back then, and it's still one of my favorite decks, especially one of my favorite tarot decks, one of the few that
Hmm.
I use. But today we're going to talk about your new deck, the Elders Council Oracle, which yeah, you're currently launching on Kickstarter, so I was really excited to reconnect with you and just wanted to offer some more support to help spread the word. And I just think it's such a beautiful deck that needs to be out there. And so I'm really excited to talk a bit more about the special magic and medicine of this deck and your creative journey with it and whatever
Hmm.
else wants to flow. So
Hmm.
thank you for being here with me again today.
Thank you for inviting me, for supporting me, for being like such a. Mm. I feel like when you reached out a couple months ago when we did the first call, it felt like such a godmother energy of like, yes, like we're gonna sprinkle some love on this, so like this comes to the world. So when you reached out for this one again, I felt that same way. So I really, really appreciate that. Like that fairy godmother energy that you get going on. I've been receiving it and I'm really, really grateful and I'm really excited to share more about it.
Oh, yay. I love that. And I'm really feeling that. Like I really saw the first time I invited you, I saw your email come in. You sent out a newsletter and I saw you posting about your new deck. You just received the sample and I was like, immediately, I need to invite you to our podcast. And you were our first guest too. That felt so special.
Mm, mm,
Um, but yeah, I'm really, really feeling that. Like just feeling a really special connection to your specific medicine as well. And
mm,
you just have a really beautiful, unique style and really love that gentle, well, I guess that combination of you have the fire, the creative fire, and then you have this really beautiful, healing, gentle, childlike energy as well. And then,
mm,
of course, with the elders, we're tapping into something deeper there too, and older and more ancient. Um, yeah, which I think is really beautiful too. So that's something I wanted to talk to you
mhm.
about today. Um, I know you shared a little bit already on our last call. What inspired you to create this deck specifically? And so maybe we can start there and then I'll have some deeper questions that I want to dive into.
Yes, of course. It's funny that you also bring like the seeds of magic because someone pointed out recently, and I had sort of seen it, but then like when she mentioned it, I was like, oh, yes. It's like the seeds is like sort of like the young beginning, and then the elders is like the matured energy. And I have felt that too, like the journey through that and like the journey of actually now creating this deck feels like a maturing process after doing Seeds of Magic. Um, I feel like what inspired the deck has been this longing for elders in my life. Um, I've had some beautiful people come and go, way older than me, but I feel there's an ache for it. The more I talk about it and the more I share with other people, it's like, oh, there's so many of us feeling that. There's also many, many people that have like their elder figures like very clear and very steady. And it's something that I can just like see from, like a little like afar with like so much awe and so much wonder and so much like, ooh, what would that like actually feel like? Mm. So then it was this whispering energy that started coming very subtly. It wasn't like this is what we're gonna do. It's an elder deck. It started with the first illustration in August of 2023. No, 2022. And then it only became like the council, like it only became a thing a year later in the solstice, in the summer solstice of 2023. That was like the moment that it sort of landed that it was going to be an elder deck. And in the meantime, I think I had drawn maybe 8 cards, but I didn't know what it was. I thought it was going to be something else. Maybe it was a deck that had elders in it, but not just one dedicated to them. And yeah, and then like once the stream was clear, I was like, okay, let's go. And then it has been a whole process and a whole journey. And I know that for you and for other people that also are around you that are creating their own decks, like you also know how deep that is, how deep it goes.
And I love what you said about, that need for elders in our lives, because I feel like it's such a big thing for us as a collective, just looking at how society as a whole has changed and the family structures and everything. And I think there's so much that is so deep in our DNA and that we really need on that level. And so much of that has been destroyed through the way that we're living today. And like family is such a big thing. Like right now, at this time, well, at least in our culture, and maybe for you, it's a little different. I know you grew up in like in
Yes and
South
no. Go
America,
for it because it's
but
similar anyway.
yeah, so in certain cultures, I think family still has a bit of a different value, but especially here, I know in Canada and some Western countries, like we just focus on the core unit of the small little family with,
Mhm.
I don't know, ideally mother, father, and maybe one or two kids, and then everyone else is kind of on the outside, but it used to be very different. I feel
Mhm.
like we used to have a lot more support
Mhm.
in the larger communities as well. But I think the elder energy is really something that's missing. I can see that and also the way we even treat older people or value their wisdom and their gifts. So I'm gonna let you talk because I know
No,
you're
I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. I feel like indeed that the focus on the nuclear family, maybe it even includes like a grandparent or like a couple of grandparents. And I feel like that is in and of itself beautiful and the interactions are beautiful. And there's also like something that has been coming up over and over, and it's like the difference between becoming older and becoming elder. And you can become older and like, still have beautiful older people in your life. And of course, there's value in every human life, in every life, period. And it's like, have they been cultivating that mm, that thing that when you like sit next to them, they don't have to say anything, and there's like, I don't know, for those of you that like feel a lot of things like me, that is like that you sit just next to them and it's just like a wave of, I don't know, their essence, their life spark coming through. Um, and I know that there's people, evidently, there's many teachers, many um, people in our life that has shown us that beauty. And I also feel like there's a hunger for it and an ache for it and these like deep longing of like, where do I place this? And and also for me, one of the things that I have noticed is like there were those people live in my lineage, but I also don't know them. I don't know them by name. I don't know them by uh, you know, they're somewhere. They live inside my body. I'm like I've come from them, and I feel like these deck has helped me in a way, sort of like in a very creative expression, uh, to reconnect, to like reweave, to meet those mm, flavors of being human.
That's so beautiful. And I feel like there's so much there. I knew this was going to be an exciting conversation, but I feel like there's so many layers that are just opening up that I wasn't even like prepared for today. Yeah, I feel like yeah, just so many things. But I would love to dive a little bit deeper into the like even more specific medicine of the elders. It's something I've explored to some degree on my journey as well. Maybe I'll share a little bit more later, but I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you feel? Maybe when you say that, you feel that the energy of the elders is missing in your life, or like what exactly is it that you're missing, and also what is the medicine that they bring and that you're bringing through the deck as well,
Mhm.
that we all need.
I feel like a human being that realized that it was a life. I mean, that sounds like super weird and simple, but it's like a human being that woke up to the fact that it's a human being and that it cultivated its life and like whatever like life throws at you, which is like messy and magical and brutal and beautiful and all the things in between. And then that harvest feed the younger generations. So then it's like a cycle that completes itself. I feel like our society is very like linear in that way. You're like you're a child, then you're an adult, and then you're older, and then you like die. And I think like what we're missing is the fact that there's like a cyclical feeding, right? Like that there's something about young and I think that this is very beautiful in the interaction between like grandparents and grandchildren. It's like the vitality of children will feed the elders, the older people, and then the wisdom and the steadiness and the I've seen life and I've been through this and it's okay feeds the younger generations when when we're all like I don't know what this is and you know I don't know where we're going. And then it's like that, like ease and a lot of holding. I feel like that's also some of the things that I'm actually just exploring now as I've been like sharing more and more about the deck in the past days. Um, that I feel like the medicine, one of like the big juicy things about the deck, I think is a sense of being held, a sense of holding. I think that that's also, if you were to imagine a council, if you were to imagine like you have a question and you're going to bring it like to a council of elders, just from closing my eyes and doing that exercise, I really feel that energetic holding that like this is held, whatever is happening here is held, whatever we're like exploring here is contained, and we're going to see what comes through. So I feel like that's a lot of the medicine of it.
I really resonate with that, and it really reminds me of the work that I've done with the inner elder as well. Something I wanted to talk to you about as well. You know, I saw that you're offering a guided meditation to meet your inner elder,
Mhm.
um, and I've been doing some work with the medicine wheel. It's like something I learned from someone, I don't know, more than 10 years ago. And like you connect with different parts of yourself, like your inner child and your inner adult and different aspects. And then you always connect with your inner elder at the end. And I always feel exactly what you just said. Like it's that feeling of being held in this deep inner peace, and just that knowing there's everything's going to be okay, like when you see it from that wise old perspective, or that ancient wisdom. um but there's so much love in it too. I feel like it just brings everything together. Um and then I also love what you said about, that cycle, kind of starting with the child, and then, well, we grow and we become older, and then it's like a cycle ends and it starts again. But one thing that I always love seeing is how I think a lot of older people, they kind of reconnect with their inner child as well in a really beautiful way. So it's, you even see it there. And I think
Mhm.
that's like, I always see it when, for example, my mom, when she connects with my niece or like her grandchild, like they just have so much fun with each other, and it's,
No, so great.
yeah.
It's so great. It's so great to witness that. And I feel like in what you're saying, it's so beautiful because coming from, my own journey, I feel like for a lot of my own healing processes and like the things that I have explored and the things that I have gone into, I feel like at one point there was a lot of emphasis on like reconnecting with your inner child, which is a beautiful thing if you're aware of like your inner mother, your inner father, and your inner elder, because otherwise there's just like no village to hold that child. So yeah, you go and like reconnect with like whatever, either it's like beauty and spark and joy or like pain and like contraction or whatever that you experienced as a child, or like that is still like living inside of you, if there's no one to, integrate it into your present moment and to mother that into here or father that into here, parent that into here, whatever figure you want to choose, and then even hold that even in a broader sense of like there's this elder that is these, I'm just doing this with my hands and I imagine this like bigger tree, almost like these like bigger canopy like holding the whole thing together. Ah, it just brings me like a wholesome feeling. That's the thing that like keeps like coming back. Um,
And just to get back to the guided meditation that you're
mhm,
including in your Kickstarter as a bonus, I think it's such a genius idea to start because
mhm,
I mean we have so many inner child healing meditations, but I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where you actually get to connect with your inner elder. So um, I don't know, is there anything that you would like to share about this process and maybe how it can like how connecting with our own inner elder can support us in our journey and um
mhm,
yeah, kind of maybe also what inspired you to create this
mhm,
meditation beyond just offering the deck as its
mhm,
own form of
mhm.
medicine.
Well, I feel like it's like I love meditations, and in sort of like in the way that I like offering them, the ones that I have offered before, is like to give you like a real juicy experience with whatever you're um yeah, whatever you're calling in. I'm a very visual person, obviously. I feel like that should like say. Um and I feel like my storytelling comes through that, through like doing my best to paint a beautiful picture in your mind so that we can go into that we can call meditation, but it's also storytelling, but it's also sort of like how would it feel like to be told this story while you're in bed tucked in, and your imagination is just open and you can go. um so that is the, how I like to weave my meditations, my guided journeys, however we're going to call them. And and as you were saying, there's a lot about like connecting with your inner child, connecting with like those like tender parts, or bringing that back, that joy. But I feel like in connecting with the inner elder, there's also this understanding that we're like a village inside ourselves too. And then there is like, oh, okay, there's also a part of me that is capable of holding this other part, that is able to like sit down and like sort of like patiently listen to what's this one saying. And then I feel like bringing it together with the deck itself is like, oh, there is an essence of you in this that is reflected back at you, that is connecting with you in a different way. I feel like it brings the elders more as a personal experience, in the sense that if you're there going on this journey with your eyes closed, and this feeling comes to you or this image comes to you, however that comes in any given moment, then you have that sort of flavor in your mouth, and then you open the deck, and then you shuffle the cards, and then all these other 44 elders show up, and there's a reference inside of you for what you're gonna shuffle. For what you're gonna play with, if you're gonna like shuffle the cards and take some for yourself, and see what the message is. So yeah, I feel like that's the combination between the meditation and the deck.
That is so beautiful, and I definitely can't wait for it. I feel like, I mean, I can't wait for the deck, but I feel like the meditation, I don't know, it just really draws me in
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think next, can we see some cards?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I love this question. A lot of people ask me if I have a favorite. Here is also something that is very interesting. With the first deck that I did, which was a tarot deck, if you're familiar with tarot decks, it has a very specific structure. So it's 78 cards, they're always the same cards, and I was sort of like following these like path. With an oracle deck, there's no such path already made. It's sort of like up to the creator to bring that up and see what comes through. As I've been sharing the deck, I've been realizing more and more how autobiographical this deck is. It's such a powerful thing. I hadn't seen it while I was making it, but now that I have a little bit of like distance from like the creation part to more like the sharing part, I'm like, wow, that is quite something. Because then every other elder that I have in the deck was a specific moment in my life for the past 3 years. Um, Something that I needed to hear, something that I wanted to see, something that a message that I wanted to be reflected back. So to pick a favorite is like I need to pick a favorite moment of the past 3 years. That's a little bit how it feels. Um, but I can definitely show you some of them. I'll tell you why they are my favorite in this moment. How about that?
Yeah, totally. And I can really relate to what you're sharing because I think
Mhm,
I have a pretty similar process of creating card decks and just channeling through the content for different cards and the ideas. It's everything's inspired by life, so I know exactly what you mean.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
there's always favorites that are favorites for different reasons.
Exactly. So I'm gonna tell you the favorites right now. I just open them. I'm like, yes, this one and this one. So this one is the Elder of Cacao. Let me see if I can adjust my light so you see it better. Maybe here. I mean, like everything about her, I love. She looks a little bit like elfy. So she's like a little bit like in that realm. There are some that are very earthy, and some that are like mystical and beings from another lineage. But this one feels like, I don't know, powerful, beautiful. Her message is a lot around, the medicine of cacao, of how do you defrost a frozen heart? How do you touch like those like really, really contracted places with so much love that they just have the space to be able to unfold again? And cacao has been with me for a really long time as something that I love to sit with and listen to and be present with. And it was like one day I was here in this space, which is my creative space. I have a little couch here. I was sitting, I was looking at the trees through my window, and I was sipping through some cacao, and I was like, oh, wow, like these. Don't we all need more of these motherly, grandmotherly energy that just like melts your heart bit by bit, not too fast, not, like it's just the right kind of like warm touch. Um, so that's where she came from.
I really resonate with that as well. Like
Mhm.
I guess if I can tell you a secret, I've been
Tell me.
drinking cacao pretty much every day for the past year. I don't know, maybe some
Hmm.
people would say it's too much. That just really came into my life, that medicine,
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
I moved here to Ontario. Like my partner was just doing that every morning, like making cacao drinks for himself and his mom. And then he started making them for me. Now I have my own little recipe that I kind of created for myself. And yeah, it feels like something really nourishing, and maybe it's just a part of my journey for now, but I feel like it's something that I've really needed, especially that heart healing medicine, and it feels really grounding and nourishing. So yeah, I love
Hmm.
that this card came up.
Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if like you also could see like she's holding a cup and then from the cup like the bean is coming out and then from the bean there's like all these like light and all the ones at the back are cacao beans in their different stages of ripeness because then it comes from green and then it turns yellow and some of the varieties will turn also purple. So like all the colors and all the things are inspired in the plant and I think like she's the plant but is she just the wisdom? Like it's like that delicious is that delicious thing that if like she would actually be a real human elder, I would have so many questions. I would just like want to sit, have a cup of cacao, and ask her like a million questions. Which I think it's in ultimately that like curiosity of that childlike energy, just wanting to know everything about life, and the elder being like, I have no answers, but I'll sit here with your question, and you will find the answer. Or not, but we will be here with it. So thank you also for sharing your story. I don't think that it's too much. I mean, your body will know. Your
Exactly.
body will
Yeah,
know.
that's exactly my
Mm.
philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to my body. Yeah,
Exactly.
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 Do you want to show us some more cards?
Yes. Yes, I have. And this is also beautiful because, like, of course, the more I share them, the more some are like more forward. I don't know. There's like some that come like faster. So I actually went through the deck to see like ones that I haven't had the chance to talk much about. Um, this one was quite the moment. It's the Elders of Chaos. Um, some of them come in like in pairs. There's a couple of like of cards that have two elders in one card. And this one was really intense. This one was by like maybe like a year ago. This was one of the last cards also. I don't know if are you familiar with the Jinkies? Have you
Yeah,
ever heard of them?
absolutely. Yeah, I
Okay,
do work with them too.
awesome. Ha. If you are not familiar with the Jinkies, we will invite you to go down that rabbit hole. I'm gonna give you some stories. I'm gonna share with you some context, and you'll take it or leave it. Um, so there is a shadow in the Jinkies that is the shadow of chaos. And it's a Jinky that I have two times on my profile. It feels very, very alive when it comes alive. And there was a moment last year where I felt like nothing freaking made sense. And it was very intense. It was very difficult to wrap my mind around it. And a friend of mine was just like, it seems like you're meeting chaos. And I was like, this is what it actually feels like in my mind and in my body to meet that edge and to go into that place. And what she said kept saying was like, if you keep trying to control it, it will drive you crazy. Like it has that power. It will like take you down. If you breathe and you let it be, it will move through you with you and it will show you something. Like that's like one of those things that you hear from a friend and you're like, okay, okay. But in that moment, it really landed, and something in me was like, fine, sort of like, okay, we're gonna surrender to this. And and then it emerged, and this card actually came as a doodle first. It was like a little doodle with markers, and I saw it and it was so clear. And the message is that chaos is the mother of everything. Is just when the mind tries to control it and make sense of it and try to explain it that it just becomes a thing. It just takes you for a ride, and it will like it will eat on your energy, it will eat on your like your mental capacity. It will feed itself from anything until you surrender, and when you surrender it's peaceful and sweet. And I know so many people are so scared of it, myself included. When I'm in that tender place, there's a couple people that I would like call, like raise my hand and be like, please, just support me on this. But I know that this is a very, very intense experience for a lot of us. So I was like, okay, then we're gonna have Elders of Chaos. And if you see them, they're actually really peaceful. Their faces, their face, like their body expression, then there's all this color that is very swirly, and then on this side is like dark night and very shardy. Ah, but it's like I don't know. The colors are also beautiful. Like once you see them, because the cards are also printed so exquisite. Yeah, it gives you like all the feels for like what they bring.
It feels like pure creative energy to me. And I love the infinity symbol that you included that. Like it just
Mhm.
feels like, the reminder of that natural cycle and that creative cycle that never really ends. And so I think the chaos is really part of it. And you could call it a destructive phase sometimes, but yeah, I think we can really see that right now in the collective energy too. Like there's a lot of fear for a lot of people, but like for someone like me, it actually feels really liberating because I feel like it's just that
Mhm.
like I'm just going with that natural flow, and I know there are things I needed to end that finally it feels like life is just stepping in and bringing that chaos to just, I don't know,
Mhm.
encourage me to just totally leap into it and surrender to it.
Do you want more?
Yes, let's do one more.
Shall I show you more? All right. Um, so one of the things that also started coming very clear was that if we were gonna sit in a real elders council, everything of every part of the human experience needed to be welcome. Like how are we not? Um, So there's, there's these very, very soft, beautiful, tender elders, and there's also more of these like sharp, like to the point. This is the message. Don't look away kind of thing. Sort of like there's like the soft love and the tough love. Um, and I feel like this one is one of those that like as it would come on a spread, like if you would just like pull this card for yourself, well, quite the invitation. Um, it's the Elder of Rage. I don't know if I actually showed this one last time. I'm actually curious if I did.
I I'm not totally sure. I feel like I've seen it before, but I'm not sure if it was on Instagram or
Mm-hmm.
in our podcast.
It's the Elder of Rage. And then she's there holding this other woman going through the freaking fire of it. And I think like rage is also something that we are called to explore and express in a way that feels safe and contained, but stuffing it down and pushing it aside ain't gonna serve anyone. So one of like the messages that came with this one is like it's fire ultimately. That's like anger, rage. Ah, that's all fire energy. We can either build a beautiful bonfire for it and tend to the fire and make sure that the fire is free but contained, or it just picks up and sparks and like turns into a wildfire and it will eat everything that it encounters. So this is like that containment for okay, like rage deserves a place within you. How you're gonna express it, how you're gonna touch it. There's also like a difference between like making a fire that is like this big that you can hold, I don't know, in your kitchen, and a fire that is like the size of like a bonfire. And that requires skill. It requires capacity to hold, capacity to, yeah, to be present with it. Um, so you will never begin like making a fire. If you've never made a fire in your life ever, you're not gonna start with the biggest bonfire available, hopefully. Hopefully you don't. You will start learning like the bits and pieces and like how do you like create the spark and how do you feed that and how do you contain it and how do you know, and then you move into bigger things. So I think that this is an invitation for us to not push our rage that far so that we don't feel it. Bring it back in ways that feels contained and safe and that we have the capacity to digest and regulate it as an active part of who we are and the moment in life that we're in, and that so much of the things that we're seeing happening in the world, actually the right response for that is rage. The right response for a lot of the shit that we're seeing is rage. Not like in your car while you're driving or like to your children or like, to yourself in the mirror. No, in a contained space where you can actually feel the whole thing and let it consume whatever it needs to burn and then inform you in ways that it can and that it will and that it's quite powerful.
I totally agree with you, and I feel this is such an important message. I think in
Mhm.
general, like so much of, or maybe everything in some way, um, that we're seeing in the world, like I think is a result of everything that we've suppressed, and it's coming to the surface because it needs to be seen so that we can integrate it. And yeah, I think especially for us women too, I think we get that message often. I know I got that from a very young age. I mean, I didn't know how to deal with anger. Like I grew up with, I guess, in a family where, well, there was one family member who had anger control issues, and
Mhm.
it was constantly, it felt like this threatening thing that I was experiencing almost every day. But at the same time, I got the message that, well, I'm not really allowed to express my anger. I'm not even allowed to feel it. And
Mhm.
like there was so much, I feel like later in life where I needed to kind of start reconnecting with that more. And even now, I feel like it's still difficult for me to even feel anger. Like I feel like a lot needs to happen so that I can actually really feel angry. But I
Oh
know
yeah.
it's so deeply suppressed, and the more we suppress what we see as, negative, or when we judge the shadow, we only make it worse. And I think when we can meet it with love, and then also I think what you're talking about is really creating that sacred container, getting that expression, sacred rage, even like
Mhm.
there's something really sacred about it when we can harness it as that kind of energy. I think it really guides us to our truth, and to our
Yeah.
authenticity. And I think that's what the world really needs from all of us, to just reconnect with that most true and authentic expression of ourselves beyond all the conditioning, and yeah, I mean, so much more I could say, but yeah, I think
I totally
you
feel
know what I
you. And
mean.
I feel, had we had an elder in our lives growing up, that would model that for us, that will model what containing our fire in that way would be, well, we wouldn't have that all that push and pull and like, I don't know if I can go there, and if I go there, like how do I get out of it? It's a very it's a very tender place for a lot of people. So, yeah, then this one is here to support.
Mm. Yeah, and there's just another thought. I don't know, I never really looked at it that way, but I feel like, what we're seeing in politics, for example, these days, I feel like it's really an expression of leaders that are not really in touch with their inner elder. I think if we, because that's what we had in the past. I feel like we had, that kind of leadership. Um, we had, I don't know, the shamans and elders and tribes that were really
Council.
representing that energy and that wisdom from a deep, like embodied, lived experience from that place. And I feel like we're so disconnected as a society, but it's really reflected in everything
Oh
and
yeah.
what we
Oh yeah.
perceive as leadership these days. So I think,
Mm,
yeah, there's something really, really powerful there.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. I so feel you on that. And I saw a quote on Instagram the other day, like a couple months ago. It was more or less like something on the lines of, um, just get back on, on the governments, like a council of grandmas. I was like, fuck yes. Like we know intrinsically, like we would be in better hands. You know what I mean? And they're still be human, and like we will still like make mistakes and all the things, but when there's council, when there's circle, that's also I think like the whole thing about it, and it's very much like in the imagery of it. um it's something that I learned from one of my mentors, Brianna Lynn, about how do we transition from pyramids to circles, back to circles. We were cyclical, circular beings for thousands upon thousands of years, and then at one point we started creating these hierarchies and these pyramids and these like things of like I'm at the top and you're at the bottom, and like this is how like the world is structured. But nothing in nature, nothing in this world moves in a linear hierarchical pyramid structure. So it's like that tough transition in like realizing that this ain't it. And then how do we transcend and include this phase and bring in whatever is has been and will always be very supportive for our nervous system, for the ways that we move in the world, for creativity, for mothering, fathering, like raising children, making art, tending to the land, growing our food. I don't know, questions around energy, questions around land, territory. I mean, the list is endless.
That really resonates. And it's actually something that my partner keeps bringing up. Like,
Mhm.
he always tells me, maybe we talk about our dream home or whatever that might look like. And he always brings up that idea of creating a house that doesn't have any, rough edges, or like that's not square. It's like round. Everything is like rounded corners, and
Mm.
yeah, like it's just more natural. Or just, I think, bringing the balance too between the masculine and feminine energies.
Right,
But
right.
I think we
I'm gonna
need
turn on my
both,
light.
but
Hold on. Give me a
okay.
second. I just realized it got really dark.
Yeah, I know you're like 6 hours ahead of me.
Mhm.
Um, I was thinking, do you want to pull a card for everyone
Yes.
watching the video? I always love
Yes.
doing that. So we can see one
Yes.
more.
Mm-hmm. Ah, it's the
Aw,
Elder of Grief.
it's so beautiful.
Mm. Mm. Talking about like collective feelings and like all of the things that we're processing at an individual and, together level, grief. Wow. I can read you from the book. I can tell you also, whatever you rather.
Either way, I mean, I love your writings too, so
Deal. Let's read it from the book. Because if you've ever created a deck, like the illustrations is it's almost no, it is just half of the process. Like writing the whole book afterwards is in and of itself a whole journey. So here we go. It is the Elder of Grief. It says loss, connection, sensitivity, and imagination. Grief is one of the most sacred human experiences, one that deserves to be tended to and cared for. Grief forges a human heart in the most intense ways. It is a natural response to loss, and because life is fundamentally always changing, it is an essential part of the human experience. Grief, in and of itself, is an expression of love, but when we are raised in cultures where instead of honoring grief, it is shoved to the side as an inconvenience, as something that should be dealt with individually, and as a place to be avoided, it becomes a shadow force that threatens to swallow us whole. Ungrieved grief is the malaise of the time of these times. There are generations upon generations of grief that wasn't felt, expressed, held, met, and released. And if you are a highly sensitive human walking this earth at this point in time, chances are you felt a lot of these pockets of sorrow and didn't have the tools, support, and language to help you process it. The grief you feel may be yours from a direct experience, but it's deeply connected to your ancestry and to the human family at large. When comes to you, it asks you to stop pretending and be real. It asks you to stop running away from it, but to move with it instead. It asks you to not try to hold it all together on your own. It asks you to make art, to dance, to sing, to scream, to wail, to let it move through you. It asks you to allow yourself to be held by that which never changes, the eternal part of love that holds you right here, right now, no matter what. And each elder has an invitation. So the invitations are more practical, are more like ways on like how can you bring this message into your experience. This one says the invitation says it create a grief ritual that allows you to mark your losses in space and time. This is how you reclaim your relationship with grief, and in that you will discover something utterly beautiful. Your capacity to dream and imagine is directly linked to your capacity to grieve. If you have been held down and unable to access your imagination, your curiosity, or your wonder, chances are that grief is just at the door, waiting to be able to open it up for you.
so beautiful. We're getting some really powerful medicine here today. Yeah, I think you already mentioned it, but I feel that's another one of those really like core collective experiences that are part of the human journey and that has been made so wrong in so many ways and we just stuff it down or I don't know, in this busy world we feel like we don't have time to deal with it or and
And
then
it can feel very real, like the pressures and the demands of the systems that we live in makes it feel that we don't have time, that we don't have space, that this should be just something that we shove down, or there's no one here with us for it, with it. Yeah, so like on one hand to like acknowledge that that is a reality for a lot, and on the other hand is like, oh, there's also a possibility of that being different and to be held in the grief. I feel like, going back to what we were saying at the beginning, I didn't know that we were gonna go all the way around, but here we are. It's like this energy of being held. Like that, I feel like that's the one of the real core flavors of the deck. That sense of like I'm held. I'm held in this. I'm held in my grief. I'm held in my rage. I'm held in my experience with cacao. I am held in the chaos. I am held in my singing. I am held in color. I don't know. There's like so many of them. I'm held in water. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really feeling that deeply. And I feel like on my own journey, like I've gone through so many cycles of grief in my life, and I think a lot it was like more about past life, like whatever. But just so many experiences of grief that I worked through in my life. And I feel like it's probably one of, I would say, the most painful medicine that I've probably experienced in my life, but also perhaps the most powerful because I feel like it really opens us up, and that's where we can, like, even the toughest person can come to a space where we can allow ourselves to open up and be held and learn to receive, and yeah, there's something really deep, and I think it also closes an experience. Maybe it's like one of those cyclical experiences as well. Like it starts,
Mhm.
the journey starts, and then the cycle ends at some point, but it's like we return to a familiar place, but with this whole, like, so many experiences along the way that become part of us, and there's like this integrated experience where it also
Oh,
takes us to a new level. And I think coming back to that spiral, maybe,
mhm.
when we look
Exactly.
at this circle, I guess it's not just a circle, but it's a spiral. So
Totally.
it's not like we go around and around and we
Mm,
always end up
mm-mm.
in the same place, but
Mhm,
we also like go higher
mhm.
in a way, or deeper.
And then every time that you meet that point again, every time like you go around the spiral and you meet that initial point again, you are coming back to it with more resources that you did the first time or the previous time. And I think that I know that as a society, we're like mostly conditioned to be disappointed or feeling like we're not good enough or feeling like we're not yet there enough. And wow, like what an invitation to actually look at all the resources that we actually do have now to be able to tend to this place, whatever it is, if it's like a deep grief from from a personal experience, from a past experience, from a collective experience, from a past life experience, like wherever it is, to meet it with more resources, with more space, with more capacity. And that is plenty. That is so good.
Yeah, that's such powerful wisdom, and again resonates on a very personal level right
Mm.
now. Feel like I'm in a place in my life right now where I'm returning to something that I worked through before, and I so appreciate, the preparation I got in the past. Like, even though it was so difficult back then, I feel like I was stuck in it for so many years, and now, like, there was a part of me that was getting frustrated, like, why am I here again? But then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I've learned so much along the way, and I feel like I'm so much more prepared, and like the only thing I just got to remember is, like, don't go into fear, and you know what to do. Like, just
Mhm,
learn,
mhm, mhm,
from what you experienced in the past, and you have so many more resources, and now you have what you need to,
mhm,
like, complete the cycle in a different way. So yeah, that's really
mhm.
beautiful and powerful. Thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Okay, I think it's time to start closing this conversation. But before we end this call, I just wanted to ask you, first of all, what's the best way to find you, to find your Kickstarter? Is there like an easy place to find the link? I'm gonna share it down below as well in the description. And what other ways potentially are there that we can
Mhm.
support you as well?
Mhm. Thank you so so much. Yes, I mean, like if you're gonna put the link here with this with this piece of video, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, you can find me at Nourishing Witch on Instagram, nourishingwitch.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. Uh, I think that those are like the core like key points where I'm at, and yeah, the the deck is currently on Kickstarter, and we are halfway. 20 days to go. This is the freaking flex moment where it's like, okay, we can do this. Then like comes in this beautiful, beautiful fairy godmother and is like, I'm gonna like help you share the word. And he's like, yes, thank you. So if you're watching this and you have any way in which you want to support the deck besides maybe just pre-ordering your own, which is already great, yeah, I don't know, if you have a podcast, if you have a video channel, look at me, like how old am I? Like in the 90s. A YouTube channel, I don't know, a blog, a Substack, I don't know, whatever people do these days. um it would be wonderful to just have more people know about it, and I'm excited to be a voice for it and to share it and to it's been 3 years of making it, and now it feels like the role has changed from, gestating and maybe illustrating, maybe writing, into now, okay, I'm gonna talk about it from the rooftops, whatever the rooftops are in any given moment. Mm,
And
so
you
yeah.
have so much more to share. I I can feel that. So, yes, go support Andrea on Kickstarter. And if you have a podcast or any other platform that you can use to support her, I can't wait, to hear all the things, so
It would
much
be
more
so
the
great.
wisdom that you have to share. And I just know this deck needs to be out there. Like the
Mhm.
world needs it. And
Thank
there's
you.
no way this isn't coming to life. So, and I think it's
I,
so
ke- I,
sim
ke- I keep hearing this from other people because like it is very real. Like this is the middle of that Kickstarter. It's very wobbly in the middle. Um and I keep like every other person that has been with me, like very much like you, very close, very like eyes on me, which feels like so tender and so beautiful because it does feel like that containment, that holding as like I'm birthing this. That is like there is no way that this is not gonna come out into the world. And I'm like, okay, yes, and
yeah.
thank
I
you for that. I
But
really receive it with a
I
lot of love.
understand that sentiment. I know I'm pretty close to launching my
Mm,
Kickstarter for my new deck. It's about a month away now, and like I know it's going to be nerve-wracking on some
it is.
level. It's so much easier to see from the outside, but I just think it's so beautiful and so symbolic
Mhm,
in a way that I saw this morning that you hit 50% and we were
mhm,
just meeting in that midpoint, and you still have 20 days to go, so you're not
mhm,
even in the middle of the time yet. So,
mhm,
and there's so much more yet to come. I think there's so much support out there for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mm,
And yeah, I'll share it wherever I can. And
mhm.
um,
Appreciate that.
are there any last words you wanted to share with us before we close this call?
Yes. One last thing. So the box opens up like this, and then you have the cards and the book. And then inside, I'm gonna give you like a little spoiler. It's not that it's not already on the video and everywhere else, but I think that this is something that I haven't mentioned much. And I think is really precious. Inside itself, it says, "You're becoming the elder you wish you had," and it's like that message is like, yes, the whole. I feel like the whole point, like the bigger picture of this, is like you are already cultivating that for yourself. Um, much of like how I see this like growing into elderhood, what I was saying at the beginning is like elderhood is not something that we arrive at, it's something that we cultivate through our lives. And you, me, like whomever is listening to this, I cannot imagine that you are not also in some way cultivating your own elderhood already. Whether you're in your 20s, in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, it doesn't matter. Like you're cultivating it to be able to feed the younger ones, whomever are the younger ones in your case. Um, and that's really tender to trust that we are becoming the elders that we wish we had for those people that, are around us and that will come after us. Those would
Thank
be
you
my
for
words.
that. And I love what you did with the box there. I think it's such a beautiful thing, like using the box when you can to just put a little message
Mhm.
in there that you see every time you open it, and it kind of contains the essence of the medicine. And yeah, so
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. Also a fun way to get creative.
Mhm. Totally.
Yeah, so thank you again. I'm really excited. I can't wait to hold this deck in my hands and to listen to the meditation and first of all to share this
Mm.
video with the world as well. And um, just my last two sentences or so. If you're interested in creating your own card deck, then I invite you to come over to either wonderlandpublishing.net where you can find my company or deckcreators.com. And that's where we had the podcast last time. So both of these are different options to work with me and my co-creators. And yeah, thank you again. I'm so excited and just loving everything that you shared with us today, and I can't wait to see it come to life.
Mm. Thank you.